All right, I'm with Gwen Preston of West Red Lake Gold Mines, WRLG on the TSX Venture. Maybe going to go to the big board at some point here soon. Maybe we'll ask Gwen about that. But it's been a good few weeks for West Red Lake, including a good Madsen Mine update just literally like a week ago. So Gwen, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Robert. How are you?
I'm great. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, back from my European travels and ready to really get back into it. West Red Lake had a little bit of a quiet period last month, but you've started August with a real bang. When I read this Madsen Mine operations news last week, I was really impressed with multiple stats in the news release, including processing up to 800 tons per day, poured 38 ounces of gold in the month, and then the recoveries were 94%. So good results. Can you tell us about what led to those good results?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's really gratifying to put out those monthly updates. I mean, it's funny when we say a quiet month. West Red Lake, we've been pushing to get this thing into production, has involved doing a lot of stuff. So we've had really strong news flow, since we bought Madsen, essentially. So then, yes, we put out the Rowan project PEA. I think it was like the 8th of July. And then, yeah, we went almost a month before putting out our next news release, which is probably a record for West Red Lake quiet. But yes, putting out monthly updates is the goal. As we continue our progress towards commercial production, we want to keep people appraised of what we're doing. And so this was everything that happened in July. And July, we really had to focus the miners on sill development. So what that is like when you're mining a stope, like a big chunk, you got to develop a tunnel above. Miners hate the word tunnel, but I'm just going to go ahead and use it. And a tunnel below. Those are how you access, and then you can mine the area in between. And so silling is creating access for mining. And it's a lower volume. It's a slightly slower, of course, and lower volume producing activity compared to stoping, where you take the big chunks in the middle. But it's essential. You can't get to the stopes if you don't build the sills. And so we knew that was going to be the case. The other really interesting thing about the sills is because they are, by definition, the edges of the zone that we're targeting, they have slightly lower confidence in our geologic model. So they don't always have 7-meter space drilling, and they don't have the same intensity of chip sampling as we do the development. So slightly lower confidence in the model. So that means they're going to have a little bit more grade variability compared to what we have in our model. But what's cool about Red Lake is that if you do what we're seeing and what we saw in July is if you do the work to make sure you're in the right rocks, so you make sure you have that good model, you're mining the right rocks. People have been mining gold in Red Lake for 100 years for a reason, and it's because those rocks can be very rich. And so the sills just handed out prizes to us in July. Some of the sill rounds that we took down were just phenomenally mineralized, well above expectation. We were okay with that in terms of we weren't concerned about not having known that those grades were there because of that slightly lower confidence in the sills. That's all by design. But man, it was nice to pull that mineralization to surface.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool when the low grade is almost 10 grams per ton. Like, how is that low grade?
I mean, yeah, we expected it to be, and then it was, threefold the grade that we expected. And then the average mined sill grade was 8.9 grams, which is not what you would expect. You would expect sills on average to be not maybe half that, or maybe a bit better than half that, but like really strong sill performance.
So to be clear, like the sill is not I guess it kind of is part of the ore body, but it's not the target like mining area. It's just in proximity to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have your area that you definitely want to mine, and then the edges of it, based on your understanding of the mineralization, you decide how much to do your sill into the ore that you're targeting and how much to do it above. And that depends, of course, on the shape of the ore body in that area. You do expect the sills to be mineralized, like halo style mineralized generally. But in this case, they were high grade mineralized in a lot of places. So yeah, we pulled 8.9 grams per ton average head grade out of the mine in July. And that then mixed with low-grade stockpiles, because that silling is a little bit slower, lower volume, meant that we poured 38,000 ounces of gold.
3,800.
38,000 would have been next level.
38,000. Yeah, we would be having a different kind of conversation.
Different conversation. 3,800 ounces of gold in July. So yeah, a really good month, and lots of other good work going on at site that just has a lot of momentum going here in the office, and a lot of excitement.
So I mean, if you consistently manage to pour 3,800 ounces per month here in 2025, this is going to come in above expectations just based upon my math. Is that something that we should not really expect to happen every month because the sills came in so far above expectations?
I mean, we're being so the reason that we haven't declared commercial production, there's no real definition of when a company can declare commercial production. Sometimes people say it's when you get to 75% of targeted throughput. We're there. If our targeted throughput is 800 tons per day, we're at 75% of targeted throughput. For us, we want to declare commercial production when we feel like we have a really solid ability to produce guidance, right? Because that's a big part of declaring, is that you then can say, okay, this is what the grades that we expect and the tonnage that we expect for the next 12 months. The reason that we're not there yet is because of exactly that question. We need a few more months of data to understand how this balances out. What can we expect more consistently or like over time from the sills? How does the overlap of, we do this tighter space drilling. We almost always add, at least in each zone, some high-grade lenses that the wider space drilling missed. But then, of course, we're also widening out the target, zone by including some of that halo mineralization. So how does that addition of low grade and high grade, how does it play out on the grade front? We just need some more data on that before we're going to be able to give guidance with confidence. So I don't actually have an answer for you on that. I mean, we certainly have. We know the areas that we plan to mine. We know what mineralization we expect from those areas. We know our budget. So, I mean, that range is absolutely, what we're targeting, maybe a bit below, but I don't want to make any promises at this point, because that's precisely the process that we're in right now, is just gathering more data on how these different forces are going to play out.
And it's kind of cool that, West Red Lake sold the gold, 3,595 ounces, at an average price of $33.20 per ounce. That's a really high price per ounce, and that stacks up well just based upon the quarterly results I've seen from the largest miners in the world. That average price is stacking up pretty well, against those companies as well, like Barrick or Newmont. So $12 million, US in revenues for the month. That's impressive for a little junior miner.
It is. I'm turning around because he's not there. The person who's in the office behind me is Gus, and he does the gold sales. And I'm laughing because it really just is luck of timing. We do the gold pour, and then they literally come and buy it either that afternoon or the next day. And then you do the final testing, and you get, you refine the amount, but the price is set. So we love to say that Gus has phenomenal timing in sales. He might say that it has more to do with luck, but either way, it's working out really well.
Good results. When I opened that news release last week, I was like, wow, this is a good update. Okay, so that's a great update. Fingers crossed the sills will continue to give gifts. And then South Austin update just yesterday, and the headline intercepts are fantastic. Even when you dig down into it, a lot of really high grade intercepts here at South Austin, and really, those who know the company well and know Madsen well know that South Austin is pretty much the future here. So tell us about what you're seeing at South Austin, Gwen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, South Austin is incredibly exciting. So, I mean, the reason to mine Madsen is because there's a nice deposit, and, with a high grade, and we have access and permits and all that. There's good reason to just mine at Madsen for what it is. But absolutely, 50% of our focus is on what it can become. And, this is a project where it hasn't really had focused exploration work for decades, right? Yes, there have been others there. I'm not going to say that there haven't, but in terms of a group that's actually been down at depth in the deposit and able to look around in lots of directions, and, you know, have the focus, have a full geo team that can focus because we're in operations. So, you know, we have the ability to do that. There's a lot of opportunity to find these kinds of pockets or lenses. I mean, we use lens more for like the little tiny bits, but these zones, these pockets where the grade really just gets higher, right? And so South Austin is really doing that for us. South Austin is coming together as this several hundred meters of plunge of like really strong mineralization. And especially in the near term, like you say, over the next few years, South Austin is the heart of Madsen. But the cool thing that I definitely want to underline is that that's, you know, we see the potential to find more of those high grade zones in quite a few other places. And we're going to put out another update sometime soon on an exploration drift that we're putting in from the main ramp into another part of the deposit because of that, because we see that kind of potential there. And, you know, there's space there in terms of how the remnant workings stop and things like that. So South Austin is super exciting, and I'd say like gratifying in that it's part of the thesis, right? Finding strong additional mineralization like in and around the deposit is really like part of the thesis here, and South Austin is playing along perfectly.
So the high grade panel out at South Austin, like what is the timing of that in the mine plan right now? Like when do you expect to get in there?
Yeah, so probably a little bit at the end of this year, and then in the first half of next year is when we're really going to be mining that. So like, I think one of the quotes that we put in that mine update is that, you know, mining is always a balance between producing the tons that you want to produce that month and then developing the access so that you can produce the tons that you need to produce in the subsequent months. And so getting development access into South Austin is one of the focuses for sort of like September, October, November, making sure that we have those multiple access points to get into that lens. And then we start mining it in, I think, December, and then running into 2026. So it's close. It's a near-term thing.
So it's coming together. I mean, it's really coming together. I can see the visibility here to this being a substantial mining operation that is profitable and generating, knock on wood, forward-looking statement, free cash flow at some point here in the next 12 months. So what do you guys need to keep doing to keep this momentum, and what are the challenges still?
Yeah, good question. So what we need to keep doing is, I mean, we have a very clear, detailed plan, like day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month plan for, you know, the work that needs to be done to get, like I say, ore out that day and the next day and the next month and the next year. And so just getting all of the tasks done on that detailed plan every day, that's really the most important thing. Second to that, or related to that certainly, are some of these other projects that we have, call them capital projects. We mentioned them in the update as well, that we're putting into play to increase our ability to do that. And so this CRF, cemented rock fill plant, BATS plant that we're putting in underground so that we can, call it, shove waste material into historic voids underground instead of trucking it back up to surface. That's a real efficiency gain. And so that thing is getting up and running. So that's like another ball to juggle, but really important one. Getting the shaft going to 300 or 400 tons a day. That's going to be really exciting as well. Just more ability to move material more efficiently is always good in an underground mine. So certainly focus on that. And then always, there's all the things that are needed to make sure that the mine is well supported. It's always staffing. It's always making sure the power is in place, you know, all of the mechanics and the ventilation and all of that. So it's one step at a time, keeping all the things going. At the same time, I'd think it's been an interesting shift, you know, in the first half of the year. Shane almost lived in Red Lake. Like Shane was in Red Lake for most of March and April and May. Like he was there 8 of those 12 weeks or something like that. And then we got Haley, our VP of Ops. She started in January, so
Yeah.
she was certainly really getting her feet under her. She hired a new mine general manager who started with us at the beginning of May. And now with the mine in proper operations, not in bulk sample, figuring it out sort of phase, but in operations with, an increasingly bolstered staff on site who can manage it. Shane doesn't have to be there every day, which is cool because that's, first of all, how it should go. And secondly, we've always said that West Red Lake, our goal is to give our investors exposure to new and growing gold production in several ways, right? And so then that gives Shane and the rest of us here a bit more ability to poke our heads up for Madsen and look around and see what's next for West Red Lake. So that's, you can't take your eye off the prize at Madsen, but if you find good people who can carry the ball for you, then you have the ability to do more than just keep your eye on the prize at Madsen. So yeah, all of that happening at the same time.
Okay. Now let me ask you a capital markets question, which I kind of teased at the start of the conversation. So you're still on the venture, which is fine. You're not even technically a gold miner, but you will be very soon. Mm-hmm. I mean, if this all comes together according to plan, the way it's trending here by the end of the year, you're going to be a major gold mining company, Canada's newest gold mine, and in a sense, ramping up, right? So the numbers are going to be going up into 2026. Market cap is above 300 million now. Hopefully, it continues to trend up over the coming months. Do you go to the US, to the NYSE? Do you go on the big board in Canada? Does that mean that West Red Lake will be included in some of the gold mining exchange traded funds? Tell us about all of it.
Yeah, for sure. No, really good question. So I personally am working on the fund angle. We fit the criteria for quite a few of those bigger funds now, which is important. Some of them have time frames. You have to have certain financial volumes each day, and then you have to be above a certain market cap for a period of time. So, I'm working on those angles to see if we can start getting included in funds in the coming while. Moving to the big board in Canada is certainly an option when we're sort of ready to do it. It's part of that, keeping your eye on the prize, and it's not a huge hurdle to change boards, but it's a thing. And so that's certainly something that we're considering and not a big challenge. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do that at some point. The big board in America I would love if West Red Lake Gold traded on the New York or the Nasdaq. I mean, that would be phenomenal. It is a pretty significant bite to take, right? In terms of the cost, in terms of the additional accounting capacity that you need, legal capacity. So it's got a cost. You need to hire people. It's not just a one-time cost. And so we certainly decided at the beginning of 2025 that that's not something that we were going to be able to take on in this year. I mean, I would love to do it in 2026, but I don't want to make promises yet. We're very aware that there would be good advantage. I mean, even just this morning, I did a call with a fund out of New York, and he loved the story, and he's like, damn, I wish you were listed on the big board in America. So I have that kind of conversation.
Yeah, it makes it harder for some of these funds to buy because they have weird mandates that don't allow them to trade on the venture or whatever. The share price, if the share price is under $1, they can't buy the stock for whatever reason. They have
exactly. Yeah. So we're investigating that. I mean, I'm hopefully in 2026 we'll be able to do that. It's not something that we're going to be able to pull. We're not going to be able to pull that rabbit out of the hat in the next few months, but we're very aware of the advantages that could bring.
Okay, very good. That makes sense. Final question, Gwen. So monthly updates. So that means we had an update just a week ago. So we'll get one for Beaver Creek, maybe?
Yeah, so certainly in time for Beaver Creek. There's probably going to be another release between now and then that has something to do with sort of exploration and zones that we're seeing or want to target. We'll see if I can get that out also in time for Beaver Creek. And then see what other, to use that phrase again, rabbits we can pull out of the hat.
Oh, we're talking about rabbits out of the hat again. Okay. Well, you keep us.
Apparently my kid's obsession with magic is rubbing off on me. But anyway.
Well, let's get some of those more 20 gram per ton gold sills. Okay, that would be a good rabbit
like
to pull out of
the
the hat.
Those
Thank
would.
you, Gwen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Robert. Great to see you.